The market was loud and full of life. Merchants shouted the prices of strange fruits, glowing drinks, and rare metals. Children ran through the dust, laughing and chasing one another. The smell of roasted meat floated in the air, mixing with the bitter smoke of engines. Everywhere there was sound, color, and movement. But in one dark corner away from the lights and noise stood a woman who was silent. Her skin was pale and stretched, her body thin like a shadow. Her clothes were nothing more than torn rags, covered in dust. Her eyes looked empty, yet they carried a pain that no words could hold. She was hungry, so hungry that her body shook with weakness. This alien woman had once been strong. Her people were proud, feared across the galaxy, but that time was gone. Now she was just another forgotten creature on a world that hated her kind. She whispered to strangers as they passed. Her voice was soft, broken, almost lost in the noise of the market. "Food, please. Just a little food," she begged. But nobody listened. Some turned their faces away. Some laughed at her. Others looked at her with disgust. One merchant threw a piece of rotten fruit at her feet and shouted, "Go back to where you came from. We don't feed your kind here." The crowd laughed. The woman bent down, picked up the rotten fruit with trembling hands. Her lips touched it, but she could not eat. It was too spoiled, too bitter even for her starving body. She dropped it, tears running down her cheeks. Then, in her desperation, she whispered words she never thought she would say. If you give me food, I will give you my body." The words came like poison, burning her tongue. She hated herself for saying them, but hunger had no mercy. She looked at the ground, ashamed. But even then, no one cared. The crowd only laughed, louder. "Not even for free," someone shouted. Her face burned with shame. She wanted to disappear into the dust, to fade from this cruel world. And yet, in that moment of despair, someone stopped. A figure stood still while the rest of the crowd moved. He was different, not from this world. A human, tall and strong, wearing simple clothes. His eyes were not filled with hate nor with laughter. They were filled with something else, pity and anger at what he saw. He watched the woman as she sank to her knees, her body shaking, her voice breaking, and for a long moment, he did not move. He only looked at her as if trying to understand. Why did nobody help her? Why was she forced to offer shame for survival? He had traveled across many stars, but this scene cut deeper than any war he had seen. The crowd noticed him. "Hey, human, don't waste your time," one of them shouted. "She's trash, not worth a single coin," another said. But the human did not answer. Instead, he stepped forward slowly. The woman raised her head, her eyes wide in shock. No one had ever walked toward her before. Not to help, not with kindness. Her lips trembled. Was this human different? Or would he mock her, too? The human knelt down beside her. He spoke in a low, calm voice. "Are you hungry?" The alien woman could not believe her ears. She nodded weakly, unable to speak. Her throat was too dry, her voice too broken. The human looked around. The crowd watched with curiosity and anger. But he ignored them. He reached into his bag and pulled out a packet of food, warm bread, some dried meat, and a small bottle of water. He placed it in front of her. Her hands shook as she reached out. For a second she stopped, her eyes filled with doubt. She had been tricked before, given fake food, made to suffer more. But the human nodded gently. "It's real," he said. "Eat." She took the bread first, her teeth sinking into it. Tears rolled down her face as the taste filled her mouth. She ate fast, almost too fast, afraid it would be taken away. The human opened the bottle of water and held it out. She drank, coughing, but her face softened. For the first time in so long, she felt life returning to her body. The market grew. Silent whispers spread among the people. Why is he helping her? Does he not know what she is? "Humans are fools." The alien woman looked up at him, her eyes wet with tears. "Why?" she whispered, her voice soft. "Why? Help me?" The human looked at her, his face calm but firm. "No one should starve," he said. "Not while I can do something." His words were simple, but they struck her like lightning. In her world of hate and cruelty, this was the first light she had seen in years. But she knew something he did not. Something dark. And if he continued to help her, he would be pulled into danger too. As the crowd grew restless, the woman felt fear rising in her heart. This was only the beginning, and the galaxy had no mercy for those who chose kindness. The market did not stay silent for long. Whispers turned into laughter, and laughter turned into anger. The people did not like what they saw. A human kneeling beside a starving alien giving her food as if she was worth something. To them it was an insult, a crime against their pride. One merchant shouted, "Human, step away from her. You don't know what you are doing." Another sneered, "She is not a victim, she is a curse." But the human ignored their words. He only watched the alien woman as she ate, every bite pulling her back from death. Her hands trembled, her tears fell, but she ate as if it was her last chance to live. The human felt his chest tighten. He had seen hunger before, on broken planets and in ruined cities. But this was different. This was not just hunger. This was hatred wrapped around hunger. The people here wanted her to starve. They wanted her to disappear. And yet, she survived, stubborn, fragile, but alive. When she finished, she lowered her eyes, ashamed again. Her lips moved slowly, forming words she had not spoken in a long time. "Thank you," she whispered. Her voice cracked, as if it had forgotten kindness. The human nodded, his face calm. "You don't need to thank me," he said softly. "Food is not a gift, it is a right." Those words struck her heart. No one had ever spoken to her like that. Her own people had abandoned her, other races hated her, and now, this strange human spoke as if she was equal to him. The crowd did not like it. Murmurs rose. "Humans are fools. He'll regret this. Someone stop him before he brings trouble." But no one stepped forward yet. They only watched, their anger growing like fire. The woman looked at him, her eyes wide with fear. "You should leave," she whispered. Her voice was desperate, shaking. "They will not forgive this. They will not forgive you." But the human did not move. He stayed where he was, his eyes locked on hers. "I don't care what they forgive," he said. "What I care about is you." For a moment she could not breathe. His words felt heavy, dangerous but also warm. No one had cared for her in years. She had become invisible, like dust under the feet of the world. And now this human dared to see her, but kindness was never safe in a place built on cruelty. The merchants began to shout again, "Throw her out! Punish the human! She is filth, and he is worse for touching her." The air grew tense. The crowd was not just angry now, they were ready to act. The woman pulled at his arm with what little strength she had. "Please," she begged. "They will hurt you if you stay, they may kill you." Her voice was trembling, but her fear was not for herself, it was for him. This stranger who gave her bread, this stranger who gave her dignity. She did not want to see him broken because of her. But the human only looked around calmly. He stood tall, his body straight, his eyes firm. "I have faced worse than words," he said. His voice was steady, unshaken. "If they wish to hate me for showing mercy, let them." The crowd grew quiet for a moment. His strength, his calmness, it unsettled them. They had expected him to bend, to run, to apologize. But he did none of these things. He stood like a wall, solid, unmovable. The alien woman stared at him, her mind spinning. Why was he doing this? What did he see in her? A broken shell of a woman that made him stay. Was he mad, or was he something greater than what she understood? She wanted to ask him, but her throat closed with fear. She knew the truth, a truth he did not yet know. Her people had been powerful once. Her people had been hated for their wars and their cruelty. That hatred still burned in the hearts of the galaxy, and if anyone helped her, they would suffer too. But still he stood. Still he stayed. And in his eyes there was no fear, only a strange fire she could not name. The merchants began to scatter, whispering of guards. Soon, soldiers would come. Soon the punishment would fall. The woman's heart pounded in her chest. She wanted to scream at him to run. But deep inside, a small voice whispered something dangerous. What if he did not run? What if he stayed? What if this was the beginning of something no one could stop? The human looked down at her once more. You are not alone anymore, he said. His words were heavy, strong, and final. The woman felt her world shift. She had been forgotten, unwanted, despised. But now, for the first time in years, she was seen, and the choice he made that day would echo far beyond this market. It would shake the stars themselves. The human's choice had already turned the market into a storm of whispers. But when he placed more food into the alien woman's shaking hands, the storm grew louder. She clutched the bread and dried meat as if holding treasure. Her body trembled, her lips parted, and she began to eat. The first bite was small, careful, as if she feared it would vanish. The second bite was faster, desperate. Soon she was eating with both hands, tears streaming down her face. Every piece of food was life pouring back into her empty shell. The human did not rush her. He only stood by her side, calm, watching as she reclaimed the strength stolen by hunger. For him, it was a simple act, giving food to one in need. But for her, it was something greater, something she thought the galaxy had forgotten: kindness. The crowd did not see kindness. They saw danger. Their whispers carried through the air like venom. She's one of them. Why feed the enemy? If she grows strong again, who knows what will happen? The human heard their words, but he did not move. He had made his choice. No amount of hate would change it now. The woman finished eating and wiped her mouth with the back of her hand. Her eyes were red, her voice shaking. You gave me more than food," she whispered. The human tilted his head, puzzled. "It was just bread," he said. But she shook her head. No, it was hope. Those words hit him harder than he expected. Hope. Such a simple thing, yet she spoke it as if it was the rarest treasure in the universe. And perhaps for her, it was. But the market's silence soon cracked. A merchant shouted, "She doesn't deserve hope." Another spat on the ground. "Her people burned worlds. Her people killed without mercy. How dare you help her?" The human turned slowly to face them. His voice was steady but sharp. "Her people are not here," he said. "She is." The words cut through the noise. For a moment, no one spoke. They were not used to being challenged, not like this, not by a human outsider. The woman lowered her head, ashamed again. Their hatred was not wrong, not fully. Her people had been cruel. Her people had brought fire and fear to countless stars. And though she had never raised a weapon, the stain of her bloodline marked her forever. She wanted to tell him. She wanted to beg him to leave before their anger swallowed him too. But when she looked at his face, she froze. There was no hesitation in his eyes, no doubt, no fear, only a strange, quiet fire that seemed to grow stronger with every insult. Thrown his way, he had seen who she was, and yet he did not turn away. The woman's heart pounded. Why? Why did this human not see her as everyone else did? Why did he not walk away? The market was no longer just a crowd. It was a wall of enemies, glaring, whispering, ready to act. And yet, in the middle of that wall, stood the human, and beside him, weak but alive, was her. The human knelt again, lowering himself so his eyes met hers. He spoke softly, only for her. "You don't need to bow to them," he said. "You are not less than them." Her lips parted, but no words came out. No one had ever spoken to her like this, not even her own people in the old days of power. She felt something dangerous inside her chest. A warmth, a spark. It was terrifying, because hope, once given, was hard to lose without breaking completely. The meal had changed her, not just her hunger, not just her body. It had changed the way she looked at him and the way she looked at herself. The merchants grew impatient. One stepped forward, waving his arm. "You will regret this, human," he barked. "The guards will come, and when they do, you will wish you never set foot on this planet." Another shouted, "Feed her today, and tomorrow she will be a beast again. Do not let her fool you." The human stood slowly, his face calm but sharp. "If helping the hungry is a crime here," he said, "then I will carry the weight of it." The crowd gasped. Such defiance was rare, but the human did not flinch. His voice was not loud, yet it carried through the market like thunder. The woman looked at him as if seeing him for the first time, not just a man, not just a stranger, but something more. Someone who stood against the weight of the galaxy without fear. Someone who refused to let cruelty win. Her chest tightened. She wanted to believe in him. She wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, her life was not already over. That maybe there was more waiting beyond this day, but fear whispered too. Fear of the guards, fear of punishment, fear of dragging him into her shadow. She lowered her voice. "They will come for you." She whispered, "They will come for us both." The human glanced at her, his lips curving in the faintest of smiles. "Then let them," he said. His voice was not reckless. It was steady, unshaken. The kind of voice that could carry armies. The kind of voice that could carry her. The market was no longer just a market. It had become a stage. And on that stage, one human had chosen to stand beside the most hated woman in the galaxy. And though she could not know it yet, that single meal, that single act of kindness would ripple far beyond the dust of this world. It would be remembered as the moment everything began to change. Night came slowly over the market city. The bright suns dipped below the horizon, and shadows stretched long across the streets. Merchants closed their stalls, shutters banged shut, and the noise of the day faded into silence. But in a small abandoned corner, far from the light, two figures remained. The human sat on a broken crate, his back straight, his eyes sharp. Beside him, the alien woman rested against a wall, her hands folded tightly as if she feared they might betray her. Her body was still weak, but the food he gave had given her enough strength to stay awake, enough strength to speak. For a long time, she said nothing. Her eyes stared at the ground, her lips pressed together. She could feel the weight of his gaze, patient, waiting. Finally, she broke the silence. Her voice trembling like a whisper of wind. "You should not have helped me," she said. Her words were soft, but her tone was heavy with warning. "You do not know what I am." The human tilted his head. "I know enough," he answered calmly. "You are starving, and no one cared." That was enough for me. But she shook her head violently, her thin hair falling across her face. "No, it is not enough. You do not understand. If they see you with me again, if they hear you speak to me, you will become like me. Hated. Hunted." The human's brow furrowed slightly, but he did not reply at once. He waited, giving her space. Slowly, she lifted her face, and in her dark, tired eyes he saw more than pain. He saw shame. "My people," she began, her voice breaking. "They were once feared across the stars. Entire worlds burned under their armies. We ruled not with justice but with cruelty. Where we came, fire followed. Where we walked, the ground turned red." Her body shook as the memories returned. "I was only a child then, but I remember the screams. I remember the ships. I remember the power. And then, I remember the fall." She closed her eyes, a single tear sliding down her cheek. "The galaxy rose against us. Every race, every army. They crushed us. They tore down our cities, hunted us like beasts. And when the war ended, there was nothing left but ashes." Her hands clenched tightly against her knees. "Now, wherever we go, we are seen as monsters. No one sees hunger. No one sees weakness. They see only the blood of the past. They see the shadow of war. And for that, they would rather watch us die than give us bread." The human listened, his face calm, his eyes steady. Her words were heavy, filled with centuries of hatred. But when she looked up, expecting disgust, expecting him to turn away, she found something else. His gaze was unchanged, steady, strong, almost defiant. "I see you," he said quietly. "Not your people, not your past. You." Her breath caught. It was such a simple answer, yet it felt impossible. For years she had carried the shame of her bloodline. For years she had lived as if she was only a shadow of war. But this man, this stranger, looked at her as if she was more. Her lips trembled. "You don't understand," she whispered. "If you stand beside me, they will not forgive. They will treat you as one of us. You will be hated. You may be killed." The human's expression did not change. "Then let them," he replied. His voice was steady, his words sharp. "If kindness is enough to make me hated, then I will carry that hate." Her eyes widened. She wanted to tell him to stop, to run, to leave her to her fate. But deep inside, a dangerous spark began to grow. Hope. The very thing she had sworn never to feel again. Now it burned inside her chest, lit by the words of this one stubborn human. But the night was not silent forever. From the distance came the sound of boots, striking metal, harsh voices, sharp orders. The guards. The woman's face went pale, her body shaking. "They are coming," she whispered, her voice filled with dread. "They must have heard. They must have been told you helped me." The human's jaw tightened. He stood, his frame straight against the darkness. "Then I will face them," he said. His voice was calm, but underneath there was fire. A fire that made her chest ache, because she knew if he stayed, he would be dragged into her curse. She reached out, grabbing his arm weakly. "Please," she begged. "Leave me. You do not know the weight you are taking. If they catch you, you will suffer as I have suffered. Go now while you still can." But he only turned to her, his face softening. His hand touched hers gently, steadying her trembling grip. "I made my choice the moment I gave you bread," he said. "I will not turn from it now." Her throat closed, her eyes burning. She wanted to argue, to fight him, but the words would not come because deep inside she did not want him to leave. For the first time in years, she did not want to be alone. The boots grew louder. The shadows of soldiers flickered against the walls. The human stood tall, his figure like a stone against the tide. The woman lowered her head, tears falling again. This was the dark secret she had carried. This was the curse that followed her everywhere, but now, someone had chosen to share it, and that choice would change everything. The night air grew heavy with the sound of boots, metal striking against stone, marching closer, louder. The crowd that had once been whispers and laughter now shifted back, making space. Everyone knew what was coming. The guards. Their armor gleamed under the faint glow of street lamps. Sharp helmets, black visors, long weapons that hummed with energy. They walked with purpose, their eyes cold, their steps in perfect rhythm. Behind them followed an officer taller than the rest, his voice carried like thunder. "Where is she? Where is the cursed one?" The people quickly pointed, eager to be free of blame. "There! With the human!" The officer's eyes snapped toward the dark corner where the woman and the human stood, his face twisted with disgust. And yet, it was not her weakness that shocked him. It was the man standing beside her. The officer barked an order. "Step away, human, step away from that filth before you are punished with her." The woman's heart froze. Her body shook as she pulled at the man's arm. "Please," she whispered, desperate. "Do as they say. You will not survive if you fight them." But the human did not move. His shoulders were broad, his stance steady. He looked at the officer, then at the soldiers, then at the woman who trembled beside him. And finally, he spoke, his voice strong. "No." The officer blinked, shocked. "What did you say?" The human's words were calm yet sharp like steel. "I will not step away." He turned slightly, his hand resting gently on the alien woman's shoulder. "She is starving. She needed food. I gave it. If that is a crime, then I accept it." The crowd gasped. No one had ever spoken like that to the guards before. The woman's chest tightened, her breath shallow. She could not believe what she was hearing. He was not just helping her, he was declaring it to the world. The officer snarled, "You dare speak as if your mercy matters? Do you not know who she is? What her kind has done?" His voice was filled with rage, but the human did not flinch. "I know who she is," he replied firmly. "She is a person. and I will not leave her to die. The guards raised their weapons. The hum of energy filled the air. The crowd backed. Even further, eager to see what would happen. Some laughed, certain the human would be crushed. Some shook their heads, muttering that he was a fool. But a few, just a few, watched with wide eyes, as if wondering if perhaps he was something else. The alien woman's body trembled. She wanted to scream, to beg him again to leave her, but her voice broke before the words could come. Tears fell instead, because in his refusal, in his courage, she saw something she had never seen before. Someone willing to stand for her when even her own people had not. The officer raised a hand. "Seize him," he ordered. The guard stepped forward, weapons ready. The woman cried out, her hand gripping the human's sleeve. Her voice was desperate, sharp with fear. "No, please do not fight them, they will kill you." The human looked down at her, and for a moment his face softened. He spoke gently so only she could hear. "They will not decide who I am, and they will not decide who you are." The words struck her like fire. Her heart ached with something she had not felt in years. Belief. Not belief in her people, not in herself, but in him. This human who stood unbroken against an entire world. The guards closed in, their shadows falling over the pair, but the human did not step back. He stood tall, his voice loud now, carrying through the night. "If kindness is weakness, then let me be weak," he declared. "If mercy is crime, then let me be guilty." The silence that followed was heavy. Even the guards hesitated for a moment, because his words carried weight, because his voice was not trembling, not begging. It was steady, strong, filled with a force they could not name. The officer's face twisted with rage. "Fool!" He roared. "You think your words can change anything? You are alone." The human shook his head slowly. "No," he said. "I am not alone." His eyes turned toward the woman beside him, weak but alive. "As long as she is here, I am not alone." The woman gasped, her throat tight, her chest burning. Her tears fell freely now because those words were not just for the guards, they were for her. And in that moment something inside her broke. The chains of shame, the weight of hatred, the shadow of her people. For the first time she felt seen. For the first time she felt human. The officer raised his hand again, fury burning in his eyes. "Then you will both suffer," he shouted. The guards tightened their grip on their weapons, stepping closer. But the human did not move. His stance was unshaken, his spirit unbroken. He had made his stand, and the galaxy itself seemed to pause, waiting to see what would come next. The air was sharp with tension. The guards closed in, their weapons glowing with a faint red light. Every hum of energy felt like thunder rolling through the night. The officer's voice cracked like a whip. "Seize them both!" The crowd erupted with shouts. Some cheered for the guards, hungry to see punishment. Others whispered in fear, unsure if this night was about to end in blood. The alien woman clutched the human's arm, her fingers trembling. Her voice was desperate, breaking. "They will kill you. Please don't fight them." But the human stood tall, his face calm, his eyes steady. "I have seen death before," he said softly, "and I will see it again. But I will not run." The words struck her heart like fire. She wanted to scream, at him to beg him again, but her voice failed because deep inside she knew he would never leave her. The first guard stepped forward, weapon raised. The human did not flinch, his eyes locked on the soldier, unshaken. "You point your weapon at a starving woman," he said loudly. "Does that make you strong?" The guard hesitated for just a breath, but the officer barked. "Do not listen, she is filth and he is worse for protecting her. End this." The soldier's hand trembled. The woman's chest tightened, her breath quick and shallow. She felt the heat of the weapon, saw the glow of death pointed toward them both. Her whole body shook, but the human's presence beside her was like a wall, unmoving, unbroken. Then something unexpected happened. A child's voice called out from the crowd. But she was hungry. The sound was small, almost lost in the noise, but it cut through the silence sharper than any blade. The crowd turned, eyes searching for the voice. A young boy stood clutching his mother's hand, his face pale, but his eyes steady. "She only wanted food," he said again. "Why is that wrong?" The guards froze. The officer's face twisted in fury. "Silence that child," he roared. But it was too late. The words had been spoken. The seed of doubt had been planted. The human looked at the boy, then back at the officer. His voice carried, strong and clear. "The child understands better than you," he said. "Hunger does not make her a monster. Cruelty does." The alien woman's eyes widened, her chest aching. No one had ever defended her like this. No one had ever spoken to guards with such defiance. And now, a human and a child had done what an entire galaxy refused to do. They had called her more than her past. The officer growled, stepping closer. "You think words can protect you? You think this crowd will rise for you? They hate her. They hate you now too." His voice shook with rage, but in his eyes was something else. Fear. The guards shifted uneasily. The crowd murmured louder, divided. Some still spat hate, shouting, for punishment. But others fell silent, their faces troubled. They had seen her eat, they had seen her weep, and the human's words would not leave their minds. The woman whispered, her voice broken. You are making them see me." Her lips trembled. "But if they see me, they will turn on you too." The human's hand tightened on her shoulder, steady, firm. "Then let them turn," he said. His voice was iron. "Better I fall with you, than let you fall alone." Her tears flowed freely. For so long she had been invisible. For so long she had lived like a shadow. Now, for the first time, someone had chosen to share her curse. And the galaxy itself seemed to tremble. The officer snarled, his patience gone. "Take them now," he shouted. The guards raised their weapons higher, closing in. The energy crackled, red light glowing against the dust. The woman closed her eyes, certain the end had come. But the human stepped forward, his body blocking hers completely. His voice thundered across the square. "If you strike, then strike me first." The words hit the crowd like a storm. Even the guards faltered, their weapons shaking. They had faced rebels, they had faced killers. But they had never faced someone who stood so still, so certain. A single man against many. Yet he did not fear them. The silence stretched heavy, unbearable. The alien woman opened her eyes, and what she saw made her chest burn with something new. Pride. She had been ashamed of her people, ashamed of her blood, but standing behind him, seeing his back like a shield, she felt for the first time that maybe she was worth protecting. The officer pointed his blade-like weapon at the human's chest. His voice shook with fury. "You will regret this defiance. You will suffer for it." But the human did not step back. He only leaned closer, his voice sharp. "Then let my suffering be the proof that mercy still exists." The guards froze again. The crowd murmured louder. Something had changed, the tide was shifting. And the officer felt it too. He saw the fear in his own soldiers' eyes. Not fear of the human's strength, but fear of his resolve. A fear that he might be right. The alien woman's breath shook. Her heart pounded. And deep inside, she knew. This night was no longer about hunger. It was about something greater. It was about the spark of change, and sparks once lit could spread into fire. The square was frozen in silence. The red glow of the guards' weapons lit the night like fireflies, of death. The officer's blade hovered near the human's chest, waiting for the final command. The crowd leaned forward, holding their breath, caught between hate and doubt, and behind the human, the starving alien woman trembled. She had been ready to die many times before, but never like this. Never with someone standing in front of her, shielding her with his life. Her lips shook as tears rolled down her face. Why would he do this? Why would a human risk everything for her, when even her own people would not? The officer growled, breaking the silence. "You think your mercy is noble, human? You think one meal changes what she is?" His voice cut like a knife, sharp and cruel. She is nothing but a shadow of war. She is the blood of monsters. You cannot wash that away with bread. The human's voice answered, steady, sharp, louder than the officer's. I am not trying to wash away her past. I am giving her a future. The words struck like thunder. The crowd gasped. The guards shifted uneasily. The woman's heart stopped for a moment. A future. She had never dared to imagine one. Her life had been nothing but hunger, shame, and silence. And now this stranger spoke as if her life still mattered. The officer snarled, raising his weapon high. Then you will share her fate, he roared. The guard stepped forward, ready to strike. The woman screamed, No! Her voice tore through the night louder than she thought possible. Her frail body pushed against the human's back. Do not kill him. He is not like us. He is not like me. But the human reached behind him, catching her trembling hand. His grip was strong, steady, unshaken. His voice was calm, even in the face of death. I told you, he whispered. You are not alone anymore. The crowd erupted into chaos. Some shouted for blood, others cried out in confusion. And in the middle of that storm, something shifted. A voice rang out. Not from the human, not from the woman, but from the crowd itself. She was only hungry. It was the boy from before, his small voice cutting through the noise. His mother tried to hush him, but the boy stepped forward. She was starving. He gave her food. Why is that wrong? The market fell into stunned silence. Children were never heard in such matters, but his words were simple, sharp, undeniable. Others began to murmur, He is right. She ate like one who had not eaten in days. Maybe, she is not a monster. The officer's face twisted with fury. Fools, do not be blinded by pity. Her kind slaughtered your ancestors. Do you forget their blood? But then another voice rose from the crowd, older, heavier. No, the voice said firmly. We remember their blood, but we also see her tears. The crowd turned and an elder stepped forward, his face lined with age. We were told monsters do not cry, yet she wept. We were told monsters feel no hunger, yet she starved. Perhaps we were told wrong. The murmurs grew louder. The guards looked uncertain, their weapons trembling. For the first time in years, the people looked at her not as a shadow of war, but as a woman, weak, starving, alive. The officer roared, desperate. Enough! I will not allow this weakness. He thrust his blade forward toward the human's chest. But the human did not move. He stood tall, his voice booming across the square. If you strike me for kindness, then let it be known across the stars. This world kills mercy. The blade stopped an inch from his chest. The silence that followed was suffocating. The guards froze, the officer's hand trembling. Because in that moment, everyone was watching. Not him, but the human. And they saw not fear, not weakness. They saw strength greater than any weapon. The woman's breath caught. Her tears fell harder because she realized then he had done more than give her food. He had given her back her life, her dignity, her worth. The officer lowered his weapon slowly, his face pale with rage, but he could feel it. The crowd was no longer with him. His power was slipping, and it was slipping because of one human. The human turned, kneeling beside the woman. His hand brushed away her tears. His voice was soft now, gentle. They may hate me tomorrow. They may hate us both, but tonight, you live. Her lips parted, trembling. She wanted to speak, but no words came, only a sob, raw and heavy. And in that sob was not just pain, it was release. The chains of her shame broke. For the first time, she felt free. The crowd watched, in silence. Some still hated, some still doubted. But many had seen something they could not unsee. A starving alien fed, a forgotten woman defended, a human who stood against an entire world and did not break. The bond between them was born that night, not of blood, not of war, but of kindness, and bonds like that could not be killed by hate. They could only grow. As the stars watched from above, the galaxy shifted. A single act of mercy had shaken the ground, and though the woman did not know what tomorrow would bring, she knew one thing. For the first time in her life, she was not alone, and that truth would echo through the galaxy forever.